There are strange things done in the midnight sun by the men who moil for gold. The Arctic trails have their secret tales that make your blood run cold. And the northern lights have seen queer sights, but the queerest they ever did see was that night on the marge of Lake LaBarge. I cremated Sam McGee. Well, now Sam McGee was from Tennessee, where the cotton blooms and blows. He left his home in the south to roam round the pole. God only knows. He was always cold, but that land of gold seemed to hold him like a spell. He'd often say, in his homely way, that he'd sooner live in hell. Well, on a Christmas day, we were mushing our way over the Dawson Trail. Cocky or cold through the park as folded stabbed like a driven nail. If our eyes we'd close and our lashes froze till sometimes we couldn't see. Well, it wasn't much fun, but the only one to whimper was Sam McGee. And that very night, as we lay packed tight in our robes beneath the snow, and the dogs were fed and the stars o'erhead were dancing heel and toe, he turned to me and "Cap," says he, "I'll cash in this trip, I guess. And if I do, I'm asking that you won't refuse my last request." Well, he seemed so low I couldn't say no. He says with a sort of a moan, "It's the cursed cold and it's got right hold till I'm chilled clean through to the bone. It ain't being dead, it's the awful dread of the icy grave that pains. So I want you to swear that foul or fair, you'll cremate my last remains." Well, a pal's last need is a thing to heed, so I swore I would not fail. We started off at the crack of dawn, but God, he looked ghastly pale. And he crouched on the sleigh and he raved all day of his home back in Tennessee. Before nightfall, the corpse was all that was left to Sam McGee. Well, there wasn't a breath in that land of death as I hurried, horror-driven. With the corpse half hid, I couldn't get rid because of a promise given. It was lashed to the sleigh, and it seemed to say, "You may tax your brawn and brains, but you promised true, and it's up to you to cremate my last remains." And a promise made is a debt unpaid, and the trail has its own stern code. And in the days to come, though my lips were dumb in my heart, how I cursed that load. And in the long, long night, by the lone firelight, while the huskies round in a ring, I howled out their woes to the homeless snows. God, how I loathed that thing. And every day that quiet clay seemed heavy and heavier grow. But on I went, though the dogs were spent and the grub was getting low. And the trail was bad and I felt half mad, but I swore I'd not give in. And I'd often sing to that hateful thing, and it'd hearken with a grin. Till I came to the marge of Lake LaBarge, and a derelict there lay. I saw in a trice it was jammed in the ice, and it was called the Alice May. And I looked at it, and I thought a bit, and I looked at my frozen chum, and here, said I, with a sudden cry, is my crematorium. Some planks I tore from the cabin floor, and I lit the boiler fire. Some coal I found that was laying around, and I heaped the fuel higher. Well, the flames just soared, and the furnace roared, such a blaze you seldom see. Then I burrowed a hole in the glowing coal and stuffed in Sam McGee. Then I made a hike, for I didn't like to hear him sizzle so. And the heavens scowled, and the huskies howled, and the wind began to blow. And it was icy cold, but the hot sweat rolled down my cheek, and I don't know why. And the greasy smoke in an inky cloak went streaking down the sky. Well, I do not know how long in the snow I wrestled with grisly fear. But the stars came out and danced about ere again I ventured near. I was sick with dread, but I bravely said, "I'll just take a peep inside. I guess he's cooked, and it's time I looked." And the door I opened wide. And there sat Sam, looking cool and calm in the heart of the furnace roar. And he wore a smile, you could see a mile. And he said, "Please shut that door. Why, it's warm in here, but I greatly fear you'll let in the cold and the storm." Since I left Plum Tree back in Tennessee, it's the first time I've been warm. There are strange things done in the midnight sun by the men who moil for gold, and the Arctic trails of their secret tales that'd make your blood run cold. And the northern lights have seen queer sights, but the queerest they ever did see was that night on the marsh, Lake Labarge, a cremated Sam McGee.